Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about the book Reinventing Project-Based Learning, Your Field Guide to Real-World Projects in the Digital Age. I'm going to be covering chapters 3, 4, and 5 for you. So let's go ahead and get started with chapter 3. Chapter 3 is called Imagining the Possibilities. The main points that this chapter goes over is the idea of ditching the textbook and focusing more on the creation of projects. It describes how to convert your big ideas into a learning experience for the students. And lastly, it discusses the steps you can take to framework your next project. This chapter covers what makes a good project. Basically, a good project connects directly with the students' interests and real-world experiences. It is an engaging way that students can understand the topic. It causes students to expand their knowledge beyond what can be achieved through traditional learning activities. A good project helps students gain habits of mind such as confidence, cooperation, curiosity, and persistence. These are all traits and attitudes that cannot be taught directly. They have to be learned through experiences and encouragement. So, here are some things to consider when planning a project. It is important to review the curriculum standards. From there, you can narrow down what it is that you want your big idea to be. Your big idea is what you want your students to learn more about. After you have picked your topic, you can brainstorm with colleagues or even try working with teachers who teach different grade levels or subjects. You want to do this so you can expand your thinking about the learning opportunities that the project will present. Other teachers may be able to help you learn how to use different applications that you may not be familiar with, or they can even help you by tying in different learning experiences that the students may have already had or will have in other classes. You can also create a wiki. This allows for more collaboration. Most importantly, you should be organized. You need to be able to plan for check-ins. You need to be able to keep yourself and your students on track. Another thing to implement is learning across higher order categories. The book suggests following Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives. Here's a picture of how this concept looks. You basically start at the bottom levels and you work your way up. So you start with remember, understand, apply, and the top 3 are the ones that are implemented in project-based learning. They're analyze, evaluate, and create. So now we're going to move on to chapter 4. Chapter 4 is titled Strategies for Discovery. And this chapter just basically goes over what pitfalls you can avoid when creating or using projects, and what factors should drive the learning experience. So let's go over some of the pitfalls that are mentioned in the book. The first pitfall that is mentioned is long on activity, short on learning. So this is basically where an activity takes too much time and the students do not learn much from it. Everything that they do learn is something that can be Googled. The second pitfall is technology layered over traditional practice. This is where technology is just used as a means to use it. You don't really get anything out of it. You don't use it to collaborate with others or learning information. An example of doing this is just using Google Slides or a PowerPoint to present information. You basically make the information look pretty, but you're not really learning anything from it. The third pitfall is thin thematic units. This is where the students are not learning through rich experiences. They are simply following the teacher's lead in order to complete a series of activities that are tied together to a certain theme. An example would be the theme of the ocean, where they go through several activities about the ocean, but the students don't have any real-world experience with the ocean itself. The fourth pitfall is overly scripted with many steps. This is where it feels like you're following a recipe. Everyone is going to end up with very predictable cookie-cutter results. The last 2 pitfalls deal with assessments. The first one is not enough focus on formative assessment. So this goes back to organization. This is where there is not enough room organized to allow for check-ins, adjustments, and feedback. The last pitfall that is discussed is assessment that does not feel authentic. For this one, it if the project is a real-world project, it needs to have measures of quality that mirror it. So in order to create or use a good project, you have to avoid these pitfalls and focus on the factors that contribute to the learning experience. You have to take into consideration the student's interest and curiosity. This is what really drives the overall learning experience. The book used the example of a group of teachers who were originally going to do a project using the ocean as their theme. They thought that the ocean was too broad and not relatable to the children's life experiences, so they decided to change their focus. The children were interested in and could share stories about constructing a block boat, so they used that knowledge to create a 7-week project on the construction of a real boat. The last chapter I'm going to be talking about is Chapter 5, which is Making Assessment Meaningful. This chapter focuses on project-based learning assessments, and it also goes over the formative and summative assessments. So as you can see from the picture here, this is what project-based learning is all about. It's about ownership, creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration. So as you can see, it is learning on a personal level. The students go through a series of activities until they are able to emerge with new understanding. So project-based learning assessments are a little different than traditional assessments. They need to be more complex, and they need to be a natural process that both supports and reports on the learning. The two assessments covered in this chapter are summative and formative assessments. This picture shows how they are both similar and ways that they are different. Some of the major differences are that summative assessments are used to assess what a student has learned at the very end of a project. They can be based off of a rubric, they can be a performance task, end of the chapter or end of the semester test, or they can even be an evaluation. Formative assessments are part of the instructional process. They let you adjust as you go. They also help you guide the students in new directions if they needed to. These can be in the form of quizzes or writings that let you check in on the student's progress. And that's basically it. So here's my reference to the book I used, and thanks for watching.